We are now exactly 9 weeks away from the midterm elections. And following up on his speech in Philadelphia last week, President Biden has sharpened his attacks on MAGA Republicans and the threat that they pose to American democracy. Speaking in Milwaukee yesterday, the president made clear that not every Republican is a MAGA Republican, but in a separate event in Pennsylvania, he made clear exactly what those Republicans stand for.
It's clear which way the new MAGA Republicans are. They're extreme. And democracy is really at stake. You can't be a democracy when you support violence, when you don't like the outcome of election. You can't be a democracy and call yourself one if you continue to do what they're doing. Trump and the MAGA Republicans made their choice. We can choose to build a better America, or we can continue down this sliding path.
Underscoring that choice, the former president also spoke in Pennsylvania, where he spent a good chunk of time complaining about the FBI search of his Florida compound and calling the FBI vicious monsters before it devolved into, what else? Lock her up. Now, that sounds familiar. No, it's not 2016 all over again. But yes, that was the same lock her up chant that he used over and over again back then because Hillary Clinton had a private email server as Secretary of State. Now, you may remember they had all sorts of butter emails feelings about that, like then presidential candidate and really always presidential candidate Marco Rubio.
She wouldn't just be a disaster. Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being Commander-in-Chief of the United States. Someone who cannot handle intelligence information appropriately cannot be Commander-in-Chief.
Really? Well, it seems that in 2016, Senator Rubio was very, very concerned about Clinton's handling of sensitive materials, so much so that he also put out a series of statements saying that there was no excuse for Secretary Clinton's actions and that she left us vulnerable to America's enemies. Fast forward 6 years, and Lil Marco, who is now running for re-election in a MAGA Republican party in a MAGA Republican state, says he doesn't see the big deal when it's an FBI investigation into handling of sensitive materials, in this case, top government secrets involving Donald Trump.
This is really at its core a storage argument that they're making, right? They're arguing there are documents there. They don't deny that he should have access to those documents, but they deny that they were not properly stored. I don't think a fight over storage of documents is worthy of what they've done.
Storage. Joining me now, storage. Kurt Bardella, advisor to the DNC and the DCCC and former spokesperson and senior advisor for Republicans on the House Oversight Committee back in the day, and Fernand Amandi, pollster and MSNBC political analyst. Storage. That's the new. It used to be plastics, and now it's storage. Let me just let you guys listen. This is hot off the presses. This is from. This was on CBS tonight. Hillary Clinton responding to these comparisons with Trump.
So I think it's a really different comparison to what's going on here when it appears that the Justice Department and the FBI have been incredibly patient, quiet, careful until they finally apparently thought that national security was at stake.
Fernand Amandi, it is down to you to explain why Lil Marco has a problem with that lady, but he's fine with storage of classified materials in Donald Trump's house.
Easy answer. It's because Marco clearly has not been invited to milk and cookies for MAGA Republicans at Mar-a-Lago recently. The invites have gotten lost in the mail. So that is nothing more than 100% pure-grade sycophancy, appealing to Donald Trump and trying to get in the good graces and doing his best Lindsey Graham imitation in the process. It goes without saying, it is stark, raving hypocrisy, Joy. But as we've always said, you cannot shame the shameless. You cannot try and drag out and make calls of hypocrites to folks that are absolutely amoral and have no regard for the truth. So it's why I think you need more of the type of comments that President Biden finally, thankfully said, which is that these MAGA Republicans are a danger to the Constitution. They're an existential threat to America. And President Biden has drawn the battle lines for Americans now to decide. Are you part of the MAGA Republicans, or are you part of the rest of us, including Republicans who are mainstream Republicans, independents, Democrats, anyone that loves this country and loves the democracy? And Marco Rubio has made his choice.
Absolutely. No, it's the reason I call him Mr. Cellophane. There is a saying that if you're waiting for Marco Rubio to grow a spine, you're already dead. You can now add if you're waiting for Marco Rubio to save democracy, also already dead. Kurt Bardella, so we know what Mr. Cellophane is doing. Whatever you like, Donald Trump, whatever you like. That's his attitude. But my thing is the Republicans have made an entire career out of being the national security party. But now what you have this is an example of some Republicans. Cowboys for Trump co-founder has now been barred by the Sedition Amendment, the 14th Amendment, from ever serving on the county commission in Otero County because he's an insurrectionist. They've actually used the 14th Amendment Civil War provision on an actual Republican. Another item, in the New York Times, they report that as the nation is hurtling closer to the midterms, those who will oversee the election are taking a range of steps to beef up security. They're having to get security at polling places for low-paid, completely, civically minded polling workers. The Republican Party is the party of violence. Isn't Biden right to try to quarantine them?
Yeah, I think President Biden is effectively and truthfully laying the stakes out for what we're facing right now in this moment of history. And oh, by the way, it's not political to tell the truth about the threat to democracy that MAGA Republicans pose. It's not political to uphold your oath of office, which literally states to defend the Constitution of the United States. When you have people out there saying that if they don't get their way at the polls, they will resort to violence. When you have people out there, sitting United States senators saying, if the Justice Department actually upholds the law, there'll be riots in the street. When you use violence to try to achieve a political means, you need to be called out. And that's not political. That's just existing in the real world with the rest of us and telling the truth and being honest. And that's what President Biden is doing right now. Meanwhile, Republicans are bending over backwards, trying to somehow make the case that they're the party of national security, the party of law enforcement, while at the same time putting a target on the backs of FBI officers, while putting a target on the backs of poll workers, volunteers, the people who are literally on the front lines of our democratic process, the people that we've all seen when we go to the polls and see the volunteers, the senior citizens, the civic-minded people who don't have a partisan agenda, just want to do their part to try to make democracy work. Those are the people that MAGA Republicans are targeting, and it's despicable.